Hi, folks. Welcome, and thanks for joining us on The Cream of the Crop, a podcast dedicated to agriculture. We talk to top leaders, share top ideas, and discuss top trends and products. We get to the heart of ag and put the issues on the table. Hello, folks, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Justin Machel, CEO of Highland Ag Solutions, and joined again by Brent Lewis and Brian D. So we got a continuation from our previous podcast talking about Highland Ag MarketWatch. And just to recap from the previous episode, we've built this for the marketers. Right now it's in the berry category, right? So we built this for the fresh berry marketers to have a tool to make better independent decision making, right? And we talked about the benefits of that, the value proposition about that, and where it's useful and all that. We want to dive a little bit more into the product here today. Brent's going to walk us through kind of screen by screen what we're looking at, what we're presenting to the industry. There's a lot of never before seen KPIs that are just so beneficial for the industry. I can't wait to dig into those. And then we'll talk a little bit about some case studies, right? We've already had some early successes, some wins, where our customers given us great feedback about how that benefited their business. So I want to go ahead and just jump right into that, Brent, if you don't mind. Getting into the product details, and let's talk about some of that information that they've never been able to see before from other data sources.
Yeah. So, after all the back end stuff is done, all the data processing that these transmissions go through, they're presented to the front end. We use Power BI for our front end dashboards. So that's because it's relatively clean. It can be cleaner, but it does the job. And we knew that building a product like MarketWatch, that there was going to be a lot of input from the industry. It's the first of its kind, and so we want a front end that was flexible, that was more of a data analytics tool, which is what Power BI is, visualization tool, and so that's what we use. That we embed that into the front end app, and it comes basically with a series of dashboards is what it is. And so I'll just walk through a couple of those. The market screen is the one that's most common to us. So it's the aggregated market screen. It's looking at by origin source. You can look at what is weighted average pricing, what's shipped over the last hour, over the last day, over the last 7 days, over the last whatever custom time period you want to look at. You can slice that by conventional or organic produce. You can see inventory, which is never been seen before. We've never been able to see what is sitting in everyone's cooler right now, and that's awesome. And so that provides a ton of value. There's no longer, just because my cooler's filling up doesn't mean that everyone else's cooler's filling up. So you actually have real data to go along with what may have been accurate intuitions before. You actually have data to back it up.
That's right.
People that know their craft, that know their industry, they usually have a good feel for things, but they never. But in most industries, they have the data that backs it up. In ag, they don't. No one really knows the market. Surely if you're a market mover in a certain area, market maker in a certain area, then okay, that's different. Maybe you do know what's going on there. Right. But no one is a market mover in every area. Everyone has areas they want to see more into. So that's what the market screen does, is it provides that window. Every 30 minutes it's refreshed. The data that comes in is every 15 minutes, and we're striving to get that refresh a lot lower. But the data processing is significant. And so as we have been building out MarketWatch 2.0, part of that is the modularization of all of our business logic. And instead of understanding how a particular ERP provider or a subscriber does a thing, does a certain process of a shipment transaction, we're now grouping the things that we see that are common across all of our subscribers into modules that are processed. No matter how you handle this particular thing, other subscribers are doing it very similar. So by modularizing our process, we're going to be more efficient in our processing times. So that's part of MarketWatch 2.0, which we'll get into later too. But the market screen is that aggregation of what's going on in the market. The only stuff that shows up in the market screen is those things that pass quorum logic. So you have to have so many subscribers actively transmitting in a particular area in order to make it to that market screen. So if I am a subscriber signing up for MarketWatch and I'm giving my data for say Florida, California, and Mexico, and there's a quorum in Florida and California at the time that I'm looking at, but I don't have a quorum in Mexico, but I'm sending in data to Highland for Mexico. Well, Highland's not going to show that data for Mexico because we don't have a quorum there. That data is not going to become available to other subscribers in Mexico until that quorum is there.
And that's something that sets us apart from any other data sources out there.
Absolutely.
You got to have a certain amount. And we ran this through, we probably should have talked about this on the earlier episode, but we ran and vetted out MarketWatch through the Department of Justice. I mean, we spent months going through and showing them and educating them what we're doing here, right? Because you could potentially run into antitrust issues or whatnot. So we wanted to make sure we were above the line here. We did everything the right way. And they understood the perishability of the product, right? And that was the thing that really allowed us the access to build this product. Is you can't just pick strawberries or blueberries and let them sit around for months and months on end, right? This is a highly perishable crop. You got to make decisions now and go, right? So they understood the perishability of it. But it was, okay, if you have enough subscribers in a region reporting, then that's okay, because it can't be reverse engineered at that point, right? You don't know what the other folks are doing. So that was something that we had to abide by guidance from the Department of Justice, actually.
Right. Yep. And I mean, the USDA does it. They have a requirement of 3, I believe, is what they've shared with us. So we require 5 for a particular area, 5 subscribers for an area, for a commodity. We also, that also is by method. So it also has to apply by conventional organic. Some of our subscribers are going to be organic only. So we want to be able to protect their data as well. So also on the market screen, there's also package types. So you can see which for like commodities like blueberries is really important to be able to see pricing, volume, inventory by package type.
Yeah, because Brian, they only have 2 package types, right?
Oh yeah, sure. only 2 in blueberries for sure.
I think that's all you see on the USDA report. But
right.
What I worked in the packaging business. We have over 20 different pack types for blueberries, consumer package types. So,
and you could be doing 10 or 15 of those in one day.
Right, right. Yeah. So being able to show that and disclose that information, you're exactly right.
Right. So every package type is mapped up to a commodity standard. So for like blueberries, we do per pound. Pound is the commodity standard. For strawberries, it's at the flat level, 8-pound flat level. Mm-hmm. And so for blueberries, with all those pack types, we can still aggregate all the data that's being sent in by many various package types. We can still aggregate it to the price per pound, the volume, pounds, inventory pounds. But the individual package data that's at the bottom of the market screen, that's also got its own quorum requirements. So that if you're the only one shipping 1 pints, or everyone's shipping 1 pints, but if you're the only one shipping 6 ounce or 4.4 or something like that at any given time period, then we're not going to show your pricing to the rest of the industry. We're going to make sure that we mask that. So that's the market screen. It has its own built-in security, so it's only going to show things that meet quorum logic, and so that's probably the more well-known.
And it's got the rejection rates. We talked a little bit about that in the earlier episode, right? So rejection rates, and then price after sale. And then one thing we didn't talk about earlier is the rate at which they are closing those files, right? So if you have trouble, how long does it take you to get that resolved? Oh, yes. So part of that whole trouble plan that we talked about earlier is, do you have a plan in place to deal with trouble? And then how quickly can you get paid from that, right? So you got to get that closed, you got to get a settlement, and then how quickly can you get that paid? We're tracking those metrics. Mm-hmm. So you can see how your business is doing and how you're faring compared to what the rest of the industry is, right? And we've seen some pretty long rates in there. I mean, it takes time. You get trouble, I'm sure everybody realizes that. I mean, you have trouble, it just totally disrupts everything. I mean, from the timing of payment, you're months out now dealing with trouble.
Yeah.
The cost of dealing with trouble is a lot.
And a lot of times the grower doesn't realize how long it takes to close those trouble files. So if you have a tool, you can go out and say, hey, look, we're closing our trouble files 25% faster than the rest of the industry. I mean, that's huge for a grower to understand.
It is. It is. And every day matters in that deal.
Absolutely.
And you can harass your customers only so much, right? Because you're trying to walk that line because you want the best returns, but you don't want to harass them and say, I need a settlement. Because you know what they're going to do then. Here comes the freight bills.
Exactly.
Right? Depending on the time of season. So that's a delicate situation you're dealing with. But what is that average rate? You're always trying to put pressure on your sales team to get things closed and get it resolved so you can get your growers paid. But what is the rest of the industry doing? So now that opens that up. You've never been able to see that before, right? I mean, you've never been able to see the aggregated rejection rates, but you've never been able to see the metrics behind it as well. And then what did that cost you? Talk a little bit about that, the cost of quality.
Yeah, so we are, at integration time when we go to meet with our customers that are coming on board, we understand how they handle their rejections in their ERP. We understand how they handle their price after sale orders and other factors, and so that allows us to build in logic to be able to track that stuff. So many ERPs are pretty open. They allow users to do things any number of ways. So even if 5 subscribers are all on Famous, they're all using it very differently. And so by understanding how they handle those rejections, how they do their price after sale, then we're able to queue up and process those rejections so that we can get to things like cost of quality. Whether it's a $20 flat of strawberries that went to a Walmart and got rejected and had to go to a terminal market at $10 a flat, that loss in $10 makes up that cost of quality metric that we're able to provide back to the industry. And that's because we have a process that allows us to track how each subscriber handles those trouble or handles their settlements. And you mentioned the rate of time it takes to get those things closed out. The market screen also comes with confidence factors. When you're looking at that net report card, I'm trying to understand how much of the rejections are closed out, how much of the price after sale has been settled. We get that. It's something that we're tracking anyway. So why not just give it back to the subscribers so they have an understanding of what they're actually looking at? And I think that's a huge differentiator between the data that's out there. Is you don't know, like with the USDA, they require 3 subscribers. Well, you don't really know if the data that you're looking at is really just 3 subscribers, and that's it. Or maybe it's 20, maybe it's 10. But it could just be 3.
Could be.
You don't know.
Right.
Well, with MarketWatch, so we provide a market reporting factor too at the at the top of the screen there, clearly bold, so that you guys know, our subscribers know what the data is made up of that they're looking at.
And as you change from source to source, right? Because the market screen has however many subscribers we have in each source, each origin, right? That are all contributing at the same time. So you can have Florida going, you could have Mexico going, you could have Georgia going. Just talking about blueberries here, and that confidence factor, that market share will change for each of those regions to show accordingly, right? Yeah. And talk a little bit about how we get to that number, right? We're talking about what their production was, and that is a time that we use USDA data to help us get to that number, right?
Yep. Until MarketWatch becomes a widely adopted system, where we really know what that denominator is for a market, for a particular region, for a commodity. We're still bound to using tools like USDA to say, all right, what's the total for this region? We use that as our denominator, and we take our subscribers' data and come up with a market share, market reporting factor. So, and so that I think is huge. We also do this with a couple other things that we provide, other confidence factors. When you're looking at retail price versus spot price, we give a % of the volume for whatever time period you're looking at. How much of this volume as retail, or what we're classifying as retail service versus spot price, so that, you know, wherever we can give more context to what they're looking at, we want to be able to do that.
That's right.
So that's the market screen. Can y'all think of anything else I'm missing?
I think you covered the basis there. We're getting into good stuff now in benchmarking, right?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, if we're doing all this stuff for the market, for the industry, you know, why didn't we? This was early on decided as well in the development of the tool. Why don't we just go ahead and take the particular subscriber that's logged in and compare their data to the market and give them, you know, whatever time period they're looking at, they want to understand better, give them how they did in gross average price against the market, how they did net against the market, what was their shipping velocity against the market, how well were they moving product, what's their cost of quality against the market, what's their pass percentage against the market, rejection rate, rejection volume against the market. Yeah, that's been, and in such a way where they can look at by origin, they can dig in and find, you know, if there's something that's on those metrics, on those benchmarks that doesn't exactly jive, that they want to understand a little bit better, they can dive in at their individual origins and see, you know, what's driving the problem, you know. And it's really just it's a visualization of perhaps what they intuitively know, but it's real data. It's data that backs up, and in a lot of cases, you know, they may not know. They may never know. This is actually a tool that's meant to give them information that they don't know too, so that they can go and make adjustments to their business. And
they've never had the ability to look at their business, especially benchmarking, at the depth that we're able to provide it to them today, right? Because the only source you had before is USDA data, so you're just looking at price and volume. Now we're getting into so many other metrics that they're able to really dive in. And again, it's where the tool started as simple sales and marketing. It comes into total business management now. So your sales managers, your senior management for your business can come in and start looking at these metrics and where can we improve, right? It opens up your eyes. It forces you to ask questions as to why this, why that, and how can we get better in our business. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen it in your role previously. You could have used it 100 times for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the only benchmarking we had was different farmers talking in the field, right?
Well, the coffee shop talk,
I got this price and I got that price, and we only had 3 rejections all year. And yeah, you know, the same conversations have been had for the last 50 years in this deal. Right. But no, never before have we been able to break it down like this with the benchmarking. It's incredible. When I first saw it, it was it really blew my mind. I mean, there's not an aspect of MarketWatch as far as the market screen, the benchmarking. I mean, we've never ever been able to see this as long as I've been doing it. So that's right. It's really incredible.
The benchmarking is not only at the origin, but it's also at the destination. To be able to see where you're shipping product, what percentage of your fruit is going to particular areas, and how the market's filling that demand. So what percent of the market, or those that are on MarketWatch, the subscribers on MarketWatch, where they send their fruit. So we took benchmarking further, and we looked at it at the destination perspective. And
you guys map that to the Nielsen regions too, right?
That's right.
So for any of these companies that are using Nielsen data or even IRI data, they can overlay that in and say here's even more depth to what we're looking at.
That's right. That's right. So man, there's the sky's the limit as to what we can do further with that as we start connecting to other external sources. So which we can talk about that when we get to MarketWatch 2.0. But yeah, I mean, being able to look back at a time period, maybe the season's complete, be able to look back and see where you did by destination. And you can still filter that by source too. But being able to see by destination how you did, how is your portfolio coming along, you know? And those are like, in the meetings I've had, like season in review meetings, those are almost like come to Jesus meetings, you know, where we're going to really find out, you know, where where some of the gremlins are,
Mm-hmm.
and where some of the things that you're doing really well, maybe surprisingly so.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a treasure chest to dive into the destination, because there's so much to look at there.
Well, it challenges your go-to-market strategy, right? Here's how we're going to do this, and here's how we compare to everybody else in the marketplace. Do we have a good strategy going to market? Do we need to change that? Do we need to challenge that? Do we need to, this is what we've always done, right? These are the customers that we've developed. Do we need to work something out differently?
Mm-hmm.
Our customer base is requiring more innovation, more top seal, more this, more that, right? Or maybe not. Maybe these other areas, these other customers, these other regions are fine with standard packaging, right? Or it just allows you to ask other questions and really refine your strategy. And that's when you can really make the pennies back, the big differences for your growers. But of course, every customer, every market has different demands, and you got to weigh that against what you're doing, where you're excellent in your operations. And but benchmarking by destination just opens up a whole nother area for people to be able to look at and evaluate themselves and have true data, competitive data to be able to benchmark. And we've never seen that before. Industry's never seen any kind of tool like that.
Mm-hmm. And marketers are able to go to their growers. Not only do they have real aggregated data that they can point to for their growers, because the growers are going to come to them with the USDA data, which in our comparisons, season in review comparisons, it's significantly different. There's a lot of fluctuation with the USDA data. That the market isn't that reactive, as far as the ups and downs, way ups and way downs, but where's I going with that?
Well, it goes back into MarketWatch being 365, right? There's no days off. There's no holidays. I mean, that thing's going every 15 minutes, reporting every 30. So, I mean, it cleans up the slop within the market because it's following it so closely.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. And marketers can now go to their growers and actually have a story to tell on not only what the USDA may have said or other data sources may have said to the growers, what they're subscribed to, but also this is why the returns are coming to. Maybe rejections are a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your fruit quality is a problem.
Right.
It's an avenue for honest conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just having this huge unknown.
The blame game.
Yeah,
everybody's pointing fingers at each other, so it definitely creates that transparency within the marketing.
We fear what we don't know.
That's right.
And the lack of data in this industry is I think what causes a lot of that fear, a lot of that distrust in relationships, and so where we can help with that, that's what we want to do.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So outside of benchmarking, you've got a whole trends dashboard as well. And what we found was it's very important in the transitory markets, right? The transitioning markets, where you're going to go from smaller packs to larger packs or vice versa, winding it down.
Mm-hmm.
With volume coming up so much, I don't even know our 4.4 is packed anymore. maybe
very
a little
rarely,
bit, but
right.
But definitely being able to know and being able to see, obviously we have to have enough quorum, enough subscribers and quorum to look at pack type, but to be able to see the movement of that, right? Are there any large retailers on ad with 24s, with 11s, and what's the movement? What's the trend line looking like for packing out there? And your customer base, you might not be affected by some of them, but you may be. But it's good to know what is the industry doing day by day, week by week, and seeing the ebb and flow of that, seeing the effective ads and all that, right? So talk a little bit about the trend screen.
Yeah. So exactly what you just said. So trends, at least for the berry industry, is just another variable to look at by package type. And you can filter this also, sort it by origin of fruit, but by package type, what is average price doing over a 7-day rolling period? What's the shipping volume, and what's the live inventory? And so exactly with that, you can make better decisions on what you're going to be packing. Be at the front end of where the market is going. So that's really the goal of trends. Furthermore, I mean, we started this past season sending out daily text notifications to our subscribers that would give them trend information from basically what happened yesterday versus the last 7 days. For inventory, for finished goods created, for pricing, and that was an ask from our customers, and we were able to deliver on that and get some feedback from it. We had some great feedback this past season on it, so it's going to be even better next season. But that's trends is not just we're with MarketWatch. We don't want you to just have to come to MarketWatch screen or the MarketWatch app to find out what's going on in the market. We want to queue this stuff up to you so that it's at your fingertips as often as you need it. And so the goal, I mean, down the road, the goal is you don't have to come to the app. We don't want you to come to the app, but we want you to just give it to you, so that you guys have that information. So, and we'll talk about 2.0 some more and the excitement that we have going on later, and what that would lead to. But yeah, no, that's a little bit of what the trends is.
Well, let's dive in a little bit more about your text notifications, right? So, there's a lot of different users. A lot of different people in the hierarchy, right, that are using the platform, and we found that some of the owners of these companies were not logging in every day. They're busy running a business and doing what they need to do, but they saw the value in MarketWatch, and they're like, "Listen, how can we? You do have it optimized for the phone, so they could pull up the app and see it there, but again, they're just so busy, and how can we get that information to them?" So they can keep pulse on what's happening, right? They may not want to see the intimate details of everything. They trust that their team is going to take care of those things, and if they're not, it's going to be very apparent, right, when they're doing business reviews. But we had a few owners of different businesses come up to us say, "How can we get this information faster? I need to have Brent, give me 3 or 4 things queued up real quick and send me a text message of that every morning and afternoon, just so I know these critical data points," right? So talk about that process and how that all came together, right? Because that's what led to this daily update, right? I'm not naming any names, but it was really interesting coming from the ownership perspective what they needed.
Yeah, a lot of the owners want to empower their employees to adopt this stuff, and so they don't want to be in the daily grime of it. But hey, I'll take a text. That sounds really nice. Just queue it up, and the text text setup that we had was responsive in the sense that you could ask a question and we get back to you. And so we were able to dive into other things that people want to see.
Help me understand this better. Help me understand that a little bit better, right? Yep. So it was interactive.
It's interactive.
We're trying to be their partners in this whole project of transparency and getting data out there. So we're not just serving up a dashboard and then we're behind the scenes quiet, right? We're trying to be interactive with you to show you, hey, we saw this, we saw that, right? Not that I want to be in your business, but here are things you might want to know. Here are things you might want to see, right? So I see that text service, further developing over time.
Yes.
As we get more and more feedback from our clients.
Yeah, and not to give it all away, but I mean the goal eventually is a native app, right? Is app notifications, and this thing being able to pull it up on your phone, read your face, and go, So that's the end goal of where we're going with MarketWatch. But yeah, no, I remember there was a particular individual who just did not care to get on the app every day, and when we rolled out the text, yep, I want that, yeah, shoot that to me,
Right.
So I mean, we're not dealing with I got a data analyst mind. I'm not growing produce, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with guys that are working a lot of hours, and trying to feed America, and so we need to make this as easy as we can. They don't have time unless if it's at 11 p.m. at night to go on an app to figure out what's going on in the industry. So because that's when they're doing all their admin and paperwork. They're not doing it in the middle of the day, doing it in the wee hours of the morning or wee hours of the night. So that's really where it was kind of a light bulb went off for us. Let's make this a lot easier.
Well, and then the clientele has grown now to even be more than just the domestic industry. You know, we're here in Florida. It's where our company is based, and we deal with a lot of U.S. based companies. But we're now starting to expand even beyond that now, right? I mean, we're talking to growers in Mexico, Peru, Chile, Argentina, all around the world, and so you know they're feeding other areas of the world too, and they want to see information. So trying to be able to scale this and serve the needs of an even larger audience. Because it is more than just domestic. We have our roots here, and this is where we got our start. We're thankful for that. But this product truly is international.
Yes.
Right. And maybe talk a little bit about what we're wanting to do there.
Yeah, we built it globally from the beginning. So that was our goal, was to build this thing as well as we could as a global tool. So everything on the standardization that has to do with location, ports, whatever it is, is being built, has been, and is continuing to be built at a global level. So that brings with it a whole lot of things that we had to think about. Even just in a national level, we needed to think about time zones. And how can I'm on the East Coast. How can I make sure that someone in California is going to be looking at data in their own time zone? That alone came with complexities that we had to figure out. But when you get into global settings, well, there's global phone numbers. You have to have a dynamic a tool that's going to be able to receive other phone numbers. So there's a lot that we're still figuring out and still building in. Some of it's being built into 2.0. But yeah, no, that's.
We're trying to
It's always been our goal.
Trying to pave the way so that the technical part of it is sound and ready to go. And now it's just scaling. Now it's on Brian and the sales team
right.
to be able to get subscribers all around the world, right?
Right.
And as long as we can reach quorum, we can open up international markets, whether they're going to Europe, Asia, here in the United States, wherever they're going. As long as we have a quorum shipping in there, we can start to unlock that data and provide more granularity, more transparency to the whole international market. And that's exciting because we want to help all the growers, right? I mean, obviously here the U.S. farmers are near and dear to our heart, but the marketing companies we deal with also deal with farmers everywhere.
Right.
And so we realize, this population isn't going to get any smaller, it's growing. So the demands on all farmers to provide good quality, nutritious food is going to get even more and more. So tools like MarketWatch can continue to evolve to provide that transparency and the information that the international community needs to be able to meet those demands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very exciting from my perspective.
Yeah. Yep.
So we talked about the market screen. We looked at benchmarking and trends. Maybe talk about some case studies, and let's talk about how the product was used. We had some early wins going to market in strawberries and blueberries.
Right.
So I'll pivot over to Brian for a second. Maybe talk about how that's gone, how the launch has been, and we're really just getting started, right? I mean, but we've got some good wins under our belt that Brent and the team have been able to facilitate. So talk a little bit about where we're at there.
Yeah. So we'll start with the Florida strawberry market. We had 60% of the Florida strawberry market reporting this year, and to be able to look at that dashboard is incredible. And you have that confidence factor. You're saying, all right, well, 60%, that's pretty strong. Kind of exactly what's going on with the market at that point. And then, I have some relationships with some other marketers that are maybe not on the platform, and they're calling and saying, hey, well, I'm seeing this and I'm seeing that, and, kind of where are we at? And so to have that dynamic between the 60% that are on and some that are maybe on the fence about it. Well, after this season, I don't think they're going to be on the fence about it anymore, because they saw some. Well, they can see some stuff that
they obviously saw value if they're calling you.
All right.
Hey, Brian, tell me this. No, I can't tell you that, because you got to get on the platform for that, right?
Right.
Because I'm not going to tell the secrets of what's going on with the industry.
That's it.
So if you want to know bad enough, then come on in and report. But you're not calling me unless you have a question.
Exactly.
Unless there's value there to be had, right? So that validates everything in and of itself, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to be able to pull that market screen up, in my opinion, and look at that 60% confidence factor there, that's huge.
Absolutely.
That's huge. And then we'll talk about the blueberry side. We had to go live in the Florida blueberry market. I think we're almost 60 something percent there too, maybe a little over 60% on that. And then we've also signed some more subscribers on for next season. So that Florida reporting percentage probably looks more like around the 80%
Wow.
mark.
That's great.
With the guys that we got coming on. We had a go live market screen in Georgia as well, a little later on in the season. But that brings me to my next point of how important it is to start talking about integrations right now, because
it doesn't just happen overnight.
It doesn't just happen overnight because guys get into a season and they get into a little bit of trouble and they want to know what's going on with the market. Well, I mean, we can't just turn it on, like a light switch. Some of these integrations take, 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes a little longer. Brent, we have already integrated with several ERPs. And the ones we've already integrated with, I mean, we can turn them around pretty quick. But some of the newer ones, that takes a long mapping period to do that. So if you want to see it now, we need to start talking. Yeah. We need to start talking now.
Well, we try to make this the easy button for these guys, right?
That's right.
You don't have somebody in the back office trying to send your data all the time. You don't have to have anybody monitor. Once this is set up and everything is tested, it's approved from both sides, you just set it and forget about it and let it go do its thing. And we have the security in place. We have all the data officers in place to process the data. We communicate back and forth with our customers to do all that, right? But it does take time. The easy button, it's not easy for a reason, right? You got to go through this whole integration process, and there's a lot of hurdles you got to jump over and cross to get to that point. But once you do, it's a beautiful thing,
Absolutely.
Right? But you're right. So anybody that's interested in getting on this product, this fall, next spring, we got to get going now. Right. Because if you're not, if you're not in the queue, it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. So, good things come to those who get on with it, not wait. So we definitely encourage people to do that. So talk about integrations then. So we have a number of ERPs already under our belt, but if they're using one that we haven't integrated with, what does that process look like? You kind of lead the charge on that one, Brent. So tell our listeners, how does this integration work?
Yeah, so we have 4 ERP integrations currently. And so if anyone's on one of those 4, then, I think Brian said 6 to 8 weeks. I think that's pretty reliable. Basically, we, for those integrations, we already have a schema set up, and there's already all the coding development's already been done. So it's just basically mapping that particular subscriber into our system. So that's a relatively quick turnaround. We want to create something that is of good value. So that does include some participation from our subscribers up front. So it's not a continuous thing. It's not something that they need to, like, data they have to pull once a week and send to us or anything like that. It is all an automated process, but there is some setup at the beginning. And so usually I'll sit down an hour and a half or so with either a salesperson who knows their ERP really well, or a controller, someone who's going to be that point of contact. Sit down with them and work through how they handle price after sale orders, how they handle rejection orders, how do they map specific characteristics in their ERP to what we're going to have on our end, and then we give that over to their ERP and they build it. For new ERPs, for ERPs that we haven't integrated with, we do have a schema. So we do the same needs from our end are there. And that's all been kind of fleshed out. The documentation's been put together. We have a scope of work that then just has to be modified to that particular ERP. So we'll launch into it once we get with that company and learn how they use that ERP. We'll launch into an investigation with that ERP company, and then we just go. So the first one with Famous took some time, but that was also because we were developing our schema at the same time too.
Right.
Other larger ERP companies that we want to integrate with, they're going to have their act together. I'm excited about some of these integrations that we have coming up. So we have some big players, whether it's Microsoft or SAP, and and we're ready for them. We just need someone to hop on for those particular ERPs, and let's go. So we'll if it's one of those that it'll take some months, but we'll get through it, and then we'll have that integration done, and then everyone else on that ERP will be able to go just as fast as the other ERPs that we're already integrated with.
That's right.
So I'm excited about the process ahead, but that's kind of like the process of integrations and what it looks like. So we do that through a robust testing period too, where we want to make sure that the data that we're showing is what the subscriber sees. So since we're not in their ERP, we can't see what's in their ERP. They need to see what's in their ERP and compare it to what MarketWatch is showing. And so there is a user acceptance testing period where we expect them to get in there and see if it makes sense to them and let us know what they see. So.
But it's so important to be having this conversation right now, though, right? Because if you do want to get on and get the benefits of this, and listen, this tool, we've been saying it over and over through both these episodes, it's going to continue to evolve to our customers' needs, right? So we want to be able to push the limits and provide as much transparency, as much data and insights to help make better decisions, right? But it's critical to get on now, right? We want to get this scaled up. We want to get the critical mass, and if you're even remotely curious about it, right, start having the conversations with us now. That way we can work through any specifics, any questions that they've got, any reservations, anything like that, because we do realize this is disruptive. It's new. There's nothing else out there like this, right? So it does take a little bit of time to digest it all because it's a lot coming at you at once. It's why we're trying to break this up into a few different episodes, right? But it's so important to start the dialogue now. And if you're a grower and you see that there's a great use case for this information, contact your marketer and let them know about MarketWatch, right? We may not have talked to everybody yet. We're trying to talk to as many folks as we can and spread the word. But if you're a grower and you'd like to have this kind of information, then reach out to your marketer. Have them call us, and we'll be happy to show them everything that we're doing, because this isn't built as we're not spying on anybody, right? We're not trying to replace jobs or do anything like that. We're trying to help. We're trying to be that tool, that resource to help you do a better job. And maybe it's the same decision you would have made, but now you have data to back it up, and you got data to go share with your team, with your grower network, with whomever, right? But it enhances the decision-making process. It's going to help over time. It's going to return value. It's immensely going to return value. We believe in this product to do that, right? When everybody we talk to in the industry is like, this is what we got to have, and it's scalable too. So if you're a berry company, you got a lot of berry companies doing more than just strawberries or blueberries. You're usually doing a lot of them, right? You're doing the blacks, the raz, the blues, and straws. This is scalable to all those different commodities. We're not just stuck in one, right? So you can go right up to the top of our market screen, and if you're a subscriber for multiple commodities, you can click on the next one, and it's right there. Everything is one integration. It's all done the same way, and it's presented to you in the way that commodity is sold, right? So, I can go on and on about it. We're passionate about this product for sure, but if you're remotely interested in it, reach out now, because it's the perfect time, and you're ahead of the game to get in there. If you think you're going to wait till January to get on this thing, you're going to be behind the 8 ball, right? So no, not that we'll turn you away. We'll do everything in our power to bring customers on board, because we want to get folks on this. But real quick, I do want to go to Brian, because we're about to have Peru turned on, right?
That's exactly right. So we have reached Peruvian quorum with the subscribers that we have. So as soon as active shipments start, coming in, and we reach that quorum level as far as pack size, like Brent talked about, I mean, we can flip that baby on.
We got integrations on the work right now to do that.
We'll
so
have a live screen going.
I know there's shipments already coming out of Peru right now. So we do have some subscribers sending information, but we're just a couple of integrations away from being able to turn all that on, and that's exciting. I mean, with the growth of Peru and all that, but not naming names, but we've got some heavy hitters in the top 10 exporters out of Peru.
Top 10, top 5.
Top 5. And we're real excited about that because it's going to give us some good market share, good reliable information, and people are seeing the value of it, and they're wanting to participate. They're wanting to join now. Because they know it's going to be even more valuable in the future too, right? The more that we get on this, the more data, the more years you get under your belt and start to be able to look at trend lines and use the power of MarketWatch and the system to be able to help you with evaluating those things. It's just going to be monumental going forward. So let's talk about a couple other use cases, right? We've got a freight screen that we developed last year, and just talk a little bit about that. Everybody that we talked to said, "Oh, you guys are tracking all this. You got my freight. Let's start looking at freight insights." Right?
Yep. Yeah. So we created a freight rate screen. I think it was last year. Yeah, last year. And basically, since we were getting FOB pricing anyway, and had to deduct from whatever the freight cost was from the unit price to get there, we had this freight cost over there. Let's go ahead and just spin up a dashboard to show people what the aggregate freight looks like. And so we took delivered orders, we took full truckloads, we have it separated by commodity, and you pick your origin, you pick your destination, and what people paying for freight. And since then, we've gotten a ton of feedback on it. So we're actually almost done modifying that whole dashboard for MarketWatch 2.0. When we first released it, we had just market data, aggregate data as a whole for it. Now it's going to be benchmark. Everything on the screen is benchmark. You can see what you're paying for freight for all these different mile ranges, and what the industry is paying for it. So this is something that a lot of people also probably have an intuition. I think I'm paying too much going to that particular place. I'm pretty confident over here, going shipping here, but I don't know, it just seems too high. Well, this is actually going to show you that, and it has. So that in this last season in review with some folks, it showed them where areas where they need to shape up their freight. And you have your carriers that you really trust. You don't go to that guy because this guy's going to get the fruit there and deliver it and make your customer happy, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't press back a little bit on the cost of freight. So now they have data to do that. And
and not only holding your logistics teams accountable to get a fair freight rate, but now on the sales side, being able to price it right. How many times have we heard from sales folks that, well, I thought it was this, so I'm pricing it at this, I'm telling my growers this, and then they get a grower return and it's different, right? It's because they didn't have accurate freight information sometimes, or it started here but went there and they never caught up to it, and they weren't able to at least ask to get to get a better price on it, to at least accommodate that part, right? So that's been a big issue.
Yeah, I mean, being from the industry, I mean, we always say trust but verify on freight, right? So I mean, you got those trusted carriers, but I mean, it goes back to these guys selling multiple commodities. They're selling all 4 berries. They're moving freight east to west, right? And they might not always glance down and look at what they priced it. They might leave the freight out altogether. I mean, things happen in the heat of the moment, and that freight rate screen pulled up, exactly what lanes are being, run and what they're paying per flat or per pound to get that, fruit there. So it's huge. And if you misprice that freight, I mean, over 10 loads, I mean, you could have paid for MarketWatch 4 or 5 times over.
That's right.
Right. I mean, I've seen it happen. It's a mistake. It happens, it's not anyone's fault that it happens that way, but it does. It happens. And if you don't have anything to look at and benchmark it to what everybody else is doing, it definitely can be a big costly mistake.
Right. And again, it provides another level of transparency. You can share that with your growers. Hey, guys, we're doing everything in our power to run a tight ship here to get the best returns we can for you. We're checking the boxes across the board here.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a simple one. That was a quick win for us because we're already capturing that data.
Yes.
Right. And we look forward to, as we get more users on the system, what else can we do? You know, what other quick wins can we get to get more value for you? Right.
That's it.
And that's exciting to us.
And that's money right back into your grower's pocket on freight.
Right.
So I mean that's the difference between a grower being with you this year and being with a guy down the road the next. I mean, it could be a difference of 15-20 cent flat. That's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's the power of a SaaS solution too. You know, I mean, we're not just bound to this tool's not just bound to the intelligence of a particular commodity or industry, but it'll grow and get better and better as we have more specialty crops come on, more different countries come on. We're already learning from the guys in Peru. We're already learning from Mexico. You know, and we're just going to keep doing that. So
that's right.
It really is the beauty of a SaaS solution to be able to make those kinds of updates that everyone benefits from. You know, when it came from this particular corner of the world, you know, our commodity. So,
well, Brent, thanks for diving into the details of it. We're gonna as we start to wrap this up, was there anything else you wanted to communicate in this episode to our listeners?
Again, I think we said it in the last episode. You know, we want your questions. So if there's things that you want us to better understand or better lay out in future episodes, you know, we'd love to do that. So so please send us your questions to marketwatch@highlandag.com.
Very good. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in today. We're going to have one more follow-up to this to wrap up the series and talk a little bit more about the sustainability, security of the system. But thanks for tuning in today, and we'll be back again soon. Thank you for joining us today. This podcast has been a presentation of Has Media, copyright 2020, all rights reserved. Be sure to follow us on social media on Instagram and Facebook at Highland Ag Solutions, and catch the video presentation of this podcast on our YouTube channel.